So Gabby's one of my favorite former students, and I'm so excited to welcome her back today. Beginning her studies at Snow College, Gabby obtained her AS degree in business, go Badgers, from Snow College, and then transferred up to Utah State University to earn her BS in marketing, go Aggies. After graduation, Gabby worked in both agency and in-house settings doing paid advertising, content marketing, and search engine optimization, or SEO. Currently, Gabby is working toward her master's degree in data analytics at Utah State University with a special interest in blending consumer behavior and analytics insights to develop impactful strategies. By day, Gabby is a corporate relations manager in the Huntsman School of Business at USU. But by night, she's building her dream business, Marz Merch. Marz Merch began as a college dream at Snow College and has been growing ever since. The spark? Frustration. After one too many shopping trips that ended in disappointment, think 25 variations of the same NASA tee at Ross, Gabby decided to create what she couldn't find, clothing that actually felt unique and meaningful. Through Marz Merch, Gabby hopes to bring together three things she cares about deeply: education, apparel, and community. While it's been a slow build, she believes that her story shows that a dream is still worth chasing, even if it takes time to unfold. Outside of work, school, and building a business, Gabby loves to see her favorite pieces of art, visit alpaca farms, research lighthouse history, admire carousels, learn about color theory, write cards on cute stationery, discover the world's best peanut butter bar, organize her space, drive to the ocean, and purchase carnation flowers on a bi-weekly basis. And I just have to add that Gabby is one of the most positive and optimistic people that I've ever met. So please welcome Gabby Marz.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me be here. It's really fun to be back at Snow. Like Russ said, I did my undergrad here for my associate, so I was here from August of 2018 until May of 2020, and I loved my time here at Snow. It's always fun getting to come back and just really appreciate getting to be here with you guys today. I'm just going to talk a little bit about my experience at Snow and beyond, so excited to share that with you guys. But like I said, my last name's Marz like the planet, but it's spelled with a Z, which makes it cooler. I felt like for my intro, it was only fitting that I shared this picture under a flying saucer. Originally, when I was creating Marz Merch, I was trying to lean more into the space aspect of things. I've leaned away from that in terms of the branding, but it is a fun way to remember my last name. I just kind of want to share a little bit of my timeline and my background before we get into what I'm doing now with Marz Merch. But in February of 2018, it was the first time I visited Snow College. So I had never been to Central Utah up until this point. I didn't really even know that it existed. When I was in my senior year of high school, I was planning on attending UVU. It was kind of close to where I lived, and I just thought that would be a good next step. But luckily, not that UVU is bad or anything, but luckily my mom got a postcard in the mail for leadership opportunities at Snow College, and it was right before deadlines to apply, and she's like, have you considered applying to this? And I was like, I hadn't really thought about that or even known that was an option at Snow. So I hurried and I put together my applications for the ambassador program here at Snow College, and I made it through to have a first round interview. And like I said, February 2018, that's the very first time that I was coming here to Snow College. And immediately I was like, okay, I've never been here, but I love the feeling that I have here. Whether or not I make it into this program, this is a place that I want to be. So here's a picture of my very first time here at Snow College. Back then, there was So Delicious. That's not here anymore, but I was really excited about it. So circa 2018, this is how I was feeling. I was like, this place is awesome. I'm from Sandy, so Snow College felt just like a fun, smaller town, and I really enjoyed that. So at this point, I'm hooked. I'm like, yes, I'm going to come to Snow College. I made it onto the ambassador team, and I was super excited to be involved here at Snow. August 2018, I start my first year here at Snow. But then fall of 2018, I have this mid-semester crisis where I've been like, since my junior year in high school, planning on studying political science. I was like, I'm going to go into public service. Like, this is the plan. This is what I'm doing. Like, that's the plan. And halfway through my first semester, I was like, I actually don't know if this is what I want to do. And this is what I've told everybody that I'm going to do. And I was so stressed because I thought that, I had to have it all figured out and I had to stick with what I had said that I was going to do in high school and starting out college. And so I was like, do I take a step back from school because I don't want to necessarily waste my time? But what I ended up doing is my second semester at Snow, I just signed up for whatever classes sounded interesting to me. So I wasn't following some academic advisor schedule at this point because I was like, I just need to see what I might be interested in. So I just took whatever sounded interesting, and in reflecting on that, a lot of the classes were business classes, and social psychology classes. And I was like, I think this is what I want to do. And at that point, I felt a little better. I had some footing, and I was going to move forward with business. Then summer of 2019, I started working at a factory. I got to listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I got really good at packaging gum, and I got to meet some really cool people, but it wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do again. And so I start my second year here at Snow, and I find out that there's this person named Russ that I can talk to that's, involved in entrepreneurship and can help students that want to be involved in entrepreneurship. And so I stopped by his office and I'm like, listen, I just worked in a factory. I didn't love it, and I don't want to do that again next summer. I either need to find and prepare for a job that I'm going to like more, or I need to start my own thing. And so Russ was super nice, and I just ran through all these different ideas with him, and he was so encouraging as I presented these different ideas, and really helped me get tapped into the resources in the Grit Center. And that was the first time that I started getting involved with the Grit Center. And then I started doing the pitch competitions. So I did my first pitch competition October of 2019. It was the first iteration of Sassy Sharks. I didn't have my shark costume at that point, but I just wanted to create something fun that recognized people, and that was one of the ideas that I ran with. Then winter of 2020, I start preparing to transfer to schools, kind of similar to, I want to use the laser pointer now. But kind of similar to this phase, it was a little bit stressful in the fact that I thought when I graduated high school, it was okay, I've made my decision to go to Snow and study political science. I don't have any more decisions to make. I realized pretty quickly that I was going to continue to make decisions about what I was going to be doing. So I'm at this point, I don't know what's next. I don't know what I want to continue studying or where I want to go. And so that's kind of looming in the background. And then February of 2020, I do my second pitch competition. Here's a picture from that. I finally have the shark suit at this point, and I gave my whole pitch in the shark suit. I don't have the picture, but there's this really great picture where it's me and all the other participants, and everyone else is wearing suits and ties, and then I'm just in my shark suit. And it's one of my favorite pictures, and unfortunately I couldn't find it. But I left this pitch competition. I didn't win the first one, I didn't win the second one, but I left this pitch competition elated. I was that was so much fun, getting to share this idea, and I didn't win any money for it. And spoiler alert, this isn't my full-time job now by any means. I'm not going around delivering in my Sassy Sharks costume, although I do have it, and I have made some deliveries. One of which was to my mother at her place of work, and that was a fun adventure. But I just was so excited about presenting an idea and sharing an idea. And even though I didn't win anything, I definitely felt like a winner after that, just from the experience. And I just wanted to become more involved in, developing ideas and testing them and seeing what I could do with them. And so then March happens, COVID shut down. I'm sent home to finish up my last semester at Snow College. And then I have my impromptu surprise graduation that my family put on. I didn't know that they were going to do it. When your family puts on your graduation, the benefit of it is that you automatically get to be valedictorian because you're the only one graduating. So I got to give my valedictorian speech that I didn't know I was going to give. It was great. But you can see here that I'm wearing a custom Marz merch t-shirt. So kind of the whole reason why, I've been wanting to do this is, like Russ mentioned in my bio, like when I go to shop, I don't find the apparel that I want. And for me, what I wear is a form of like what I care about or my interests or expression of style. And so I just kind of started making shirts that I wish existed that didn't. So this is my Gabulous shirt, since my name is Gabby, and one of my high school teachers called me Fabulous Gabulous, so I made this shirt and wore it for this impromptu graduation. It was fun putting together this slide deck because I didn't realize until I was looking at all these pictures how much like apparel's played a role in how I like to express myself. But that's a fun original t-shirt. I don't know if I have it here, but I do have some t-shirts to show you guys. So, that's my timeline here at Snow, and I promise, bear with me, all this timeline gives some context for what I'm doing and what I'm interested in. But then I transfer up to Utah State. At this point, I had decided to move forward with studying marketing. And, I was, as we saw earlier, I was a little worried about, okay, where do I go to school? What do I study? At this point, I'm deciding I do want to go to Utah State. I do want to study marketing, and it's, making those next decisions and those next steps. And then there's an entrepreneurship center at Utah State, so I continued being involved with them. And Russ was so great to connect me with them as I transferred. So if there's any of you that are transferring up to Utah State and want to get connected to their entrepreneurship center, let me know. I'm happy to make that connection. It was a nice transition to be able to have those resources here and then to be able to have them at Utah State as well. But I did my first pitch competition, and I had shifted away from my Sassy Sharks delivery service pitches and started pitching Marz merch. So I did my first pitch and I won. And I remember afterwards just texting Russ and being like, hey, I won my first pitch competition. I was so excited about it. In the Huntsman School, one of the taglines that we often talk about is Dare Mighty Things. So I got this picture over here with my gift card that I won in the pitch competition next to the Dare Mighty Things sign. This is right after that pitch competition. This is during my time at Utah State, so that these two pictures are out of order, but I'll just speak to them for a second. So after I started doing the pitch competitions up at Utah State, there were different opportunities with the Entrepreneurship Center to essentially go to these different maker markets on campus and sell what you were creating. So I would go and I would sell the t-shirts that I was making. And just for some visuals, my t-shirts would essentially, when I very first started, I would take Fruit of the Loom undershirts and just Sharpie the designs that I wanted on them. So we started very basic. So I'd have an idea and then I'd be like, I don't know what to do. I have a Sharpie and I can find an old Fruit of the Loom undershirt. Let's see what we can do with that. So what you see there with the Utah, that shirt in the middle is, at that point, I had elevated to Walmart iron-ons. So we then get to this phase of t-shirt where, and this is the first logo I was working with, this phase of t-shirt where I would never sell this one because the quality came out really crappy, but you can see the quality of the iron-ons not great. And then later on I get to a higher quality iron-on and I'm like, I'm living, this is great. And spoiler alert, just the production of how I make my shirts changes over time. The most recent iteration has been more so, I got a heat transfer machine. And so I'm now we're cooking that's a lot better quality. Like it lasts through the wash. Like it works a lot better. So it's been kind of fun to see the evolution from like my Sharpie shirts to heat transfers to now, because I have certain time restraints because of school and work, like figuring out how I can outsource the production and, you know, still have quality and whatnot. But that's one thing that's been kind of fun to see as I've been putting this together, is just the changes in how I've made my shirts with the different resources that I've had over time. But from there, I start interning at 97th Floor. Have any of you heard of 97th Floor? They're a digital marketing agency that's based out of Lehigh. I actually first heard about them from Russ. So he was super helpful in my wish of, you know, finding either an internship or creating my own thing. He was super helpful with both of those things. So I have a lot to thank Russ for. But I start my internship, and one little note here is I had applied and I followed up, and I had found out that like I didn't get the internship, and then a couple days later, they're like, okay, actually, we do have a spot available doing PPC. Do you want that? And I sent back an email saying yes, and then directly after looked up what is PPC. I didn't know what that was. I soon learned what that was in my internship, but essentially, for 3 years between my internship, part-time work, and full-time work, I did paid advertising at this agency. So I'm doing this internship while I'm in school, and then September 22, I start a part-time role with 97th Floor, and then December of 2022, I graduate from Utah State. Here's me and my husband. And then January of 2023, I start a full-time role at 97th Floor. And for me, like if there's any of you that are interested in marketing, there's agency and there's in-house marketing. And for me, starting off with agency, I got a lot of learning really quick. And then as you'll see, I then transitioned to an in-house role and was able to like focus on one brand. So if anyone wants to talk about that, like happy to chat with you about that. But June of 2023, I do my very first farmer's market with Marz merch. So here I am, lots of pink. I have, you can see right here, I have a little speaker cooler, and there's raspberry Shastas in that. So anyone who bought a t-shirt got a nice raspberry Shasta. I was like, this is an experience. But this was like super scary for me because I hadn't done something like this before. Like I had done the markets at the university, but this was like, this is Cache County. This isn't just the university now. I was like, we're making it to the big leagues. But something that was really interesting with this is I felt like this was more of a learning experience than anything. People would like come by and they'd look at the shirts and they'd say, these are really cute. And then they'd walk away. And I'm like, okay, so you think that they're cute, but you're not buying them, you know? And so it kind of like gave me an opportunity to reflect on things like price. When we think of marketing in the 4 Ps, like that's one of the things, like, is this a price thing? Like, so it was really interesting because I don't have a storefront to see how people were interacting with my products in like a physical space and seeing their reactions to that. And then also like having a stranger buy something from you is really, really heartwarming. Someone who bought one of my products here, like it seriously just meant the world to me because, you know, you might have family or friends that purchase something, but a stranger buying something, it was like, okay, this person has no ties to me. Like they genuinely wanted this, you know? So that was a really fun feeling, having someone that I didn't know purchase something from me. But yeah, it was an interesting experience to see people interacting with my products like in the real physical world, in a real space, and provided some good insights in terms of, you know, like, okay, if there's a difference between if someone says that they like something and what they do about it. And so trying to kind of understand that and how you can move the needle on merging those two things together. Then in March of 2024, I started a full-time role at Maloof. If anyone's aware of that company, they have different products that are like home goods products. So I specifically was doing marketing for their Amazon channels. And like I mentioned, I had been in agency. I moved to in-house. I really liked that experience. Then in April of 2024, I get engaged to my now husband. This is one of my favorite pieces of art. The real version's in the Louvre. There's a replica in Boise. One's a little closer, so that is where we go. And a fun fact, so my husband is here from San Pete, but we actually ended up meeting in Logan. And so I feel like San Pete, between Snow College and my husband being from here, just has a really special place in my heart. So another reason why I'm happy to be back here. But June of 2024, I'm a part of layoffs at Maloof. I'd only been there for a couple months. I was really enjoying it. So I'm sad. It's like right before I'm supposed to get married. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what am I supposed to do? And I had bought this shirt. This isn't one of my shirts, but I had bought this shirt way before all of this, and it says "out of office." And I got it as oh, I can wear it when I'm not working, and it'll be my relaxation shirt, you know. Like I said, I like to wear apparel that I feel like is an expression of me, and so I was like, that'll be fun. It'll be my I'm not working shirt. And I hadn't worn it a ton, but then I got laid off, and I wore this shirt to go pick up all my belongings, and out of office had a whole new meaning to me. And so this is me outside with my out of office shirt. It was funny because as I was picking up all my belongings, people were like, did you wear that shirt on purpose? I was like, you bet I did. And that's kind of what I mean when I'm talking about fashion as something that, can be a form of expression, or to show your interests or what you like. And so that's something that I'm interested in and think it's a good tool for. But then I get married. This is here in Ephraim. As Russ mentioned in my bio, I love alpacas. So at our reception, we had some alpacas. Their names were Macaroni and Cheese. When I was writing invitations, details for our invitation, I was talking about the activities that we would have there and the food that we would have, and it kind of accidentally sounded like we were going to be eating alpacas, macaroni, and cheese, and so I had to definitely reword that. But fun fact, one of my life dreams is to eventually teach and have my own alpaca farm in addition to building a business. So this is maybe some foreshadowing. But then last August, I start a data analytics grad program at Utah State with a special interest and focus on marketing analytics. I also start a full-time role in the Huntsman School of Business up there doing corporate relations. So I support our marketing department and our data analytics department, essentially serving as a bridge between industry and academia. And then this July, I started doing some rebranding for Marz Merch. So all the branding that I had done up to this point was just me working on Canva, which worked up to that point, but I was really wanting to create something distinct. And so I came across some work of a designer that is currently going to school at UVU. She's studying graphic design. Her name is Haley Creer. She's great. If any of you are starting businesses and looking for someone to help with your graphic design, happy to get you in contact with her. But we've been working together since July to kind of do some rebranding for Marz Merch and to really establish a foundation for the branding. Up until this point, most of the stuff that I had was just a logo that, let me see if I have one of them on here. Yeah, just a logo, which is important, but not everything. So we've been working together for the past couple months to kind of really establish the branding, because that wasn't something that I had extensively. And I think something that's been great with that is, for me, in art, there's this idea of form and function. For me, something that's really important with my brand is it doesn't just create a product, and because anyone can kind of output a product, but I want there to be a lot of intention behind the branding, and I want that to be a big asset for what I'm building. And so I'm trying to be very intentional about, the time and resources being put into actually having some formalized branding. And so that's kind of what I'm working on right now. But in terms of, that's a little bit about the timeline. I hope it provides a little bit of context to me and what I'm interested in, what I'm doing. But as far as like Marz merch, I kind of want to break it down into a couple frameworks. So just who, what, where, when, why, how. So the who, I know that my brand isn't going to be for everyone, and that's okay. But the people that I hope will be interested in what I'm making and what I'm building are people who, like me, they go to the store, they don't find what they're looking for. They use clothing as a form of expression, and they're not finding anything that kind of suits what they're looking for. Those are the people that I hope will, want to wear my designs. As far as the what, when I first started with Marz merch, it was just purely, t-shirts. Something that I think is important here, especially in context of the timeline that I shared, is the things that I want to focus on now with my brand are very different than when I first had the idea for it. So now it's not, to me, just, selling t-shirts, but essentially what I'm moving towards doing is having collections that I'm building educational pieces around. So, for example, I'm a member of the National Carousel Association. So I want to do a collection on nostalgia. And so I'd have apparel centered around that idea of nostalgia. And then as far as the education piece, like creating interesting educational materials and content surrounding things like, we have lots of carousels in Utah, but like how much do we actually know about them? So the educational piece, the unique product, and then I also want to tie in community to the work that I'm doing. So with my role as a corporate relations manager, it's taught me a lot about partnerships and community building. And those are things that I wouldn't necessarily have had that perspective without the roles that I'm in right now. Okay, we're okay. So essentially, when I have a launch of a collection, there will be a theme, the product to support the theme, educational materials to kind of provide some information that people otherwise wouldn't know about that's interesting for what the collection's about, and then for the community, creating events centered around the collection. And so that's kind of the structure that I'm going for, that it was just t-shirts, but now it's these two other things in addition to the apparel that are really important in my personal life that I want to integrate into my brand. Where I mentioned I've done mainly markets. My website is under construction right now, but that's where I'll primarily be doing the selling. When I'm hoping to have all of this done by next summer. Why? For me, like I mentioned, the three big things are I care about what I wear. I care to learn more, and I care to, connect with other people. And so I'm really excited to be combining those three things into what I'm doing. Have any of you seen this trend going on? I mean, it's more specific to Germany, but I don't know if any of you have seen it in your feeds. But essentially, people are gathering in Germany with pudding and a fork, and they're just eating pudding together with a fork. And I think for me, something that I'm excited about with Marz merch is the community aspect. I think that with social media, in theory, we should be really connected, but there's still this sense of distance, and people are wanting more community and community building. And so it's something that I'm excited to integrate into what I'm doing. The how, that's the $1 million question that I've been working through and continue to work through. Just for the sake of time, I'll just briefly, we've kind of chatted about it with the structure of what I want to do in terms of the apparel, the education, and the community building. But as far as like a SWOT analysis for me and what I'm doing, I'm sure the people that you've had come in here have been more established in what they're doing. A big thing for me is, if I was in your shoes, I think it would have been really encouraging to know that like a business can still be worthwhile, even if it takes a really long time to get it to where it needs to be. I've had different demands between work and school and whatnot. And for me, I think that if I were to be gone tomorrow, I'd be really sad if I if I hadn't pursued this, even if it was at a slow speed. So I'm very, in terms of strengths, I care a lot about what I'm doing, and I'm very thorough and detail oriented. In terms of weaknesses, I think sometimes that's manifested in things going a little bit slower. In terms of opportunities, like I talked about earlier, I think people are wanting to connect more with others, and so I'm excited to be integrating that into the work that I'm doing. And then in terms of threats, I mean, sometimes with economic things, apparel might not be the first thing that people buy, but this is just some high-level thoughts that I have in terms of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for what I'm doing. As far as next steps, so I'm wrapping up my branding, which I'm really excited about, and then I'm going to be developing my next collection and finalizing my website. So if there's anyone that wants to stay tuned, let me know. I'll be in touch with you. But I just have, if you guys want to pass this around, I have these really fun celebratory napkins. So if you'll just pick one. I was on a Southwest flight recently, and when they hand you your drink, they give you these napkins, and it says, "The best ideas are born on napkins, what's yours?" And it shows kind of the original idea of flights between Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston. And I loved this. I thought it was, one, just really clever placement, but two, I think that it's okay if a dream kind of unfolds a little bit slower. That doesn't make it a bad dream. For me, it's just I haven't built this thing overnight. It's been a very long process, and it's still forthcoming. But I've got these cute napkins, and if you want to, feel free to write one of your best ideas and maybe keep the napkin, and maybe 20 years you'll look back at that napkin and your idea will have been, going and successful and wonderful. So if you want to, you can do that. They're really fun, cute, celebratory napkins. I did not get just plain old napkins. I specifically got celebratory ones because one day when you do the thing on the napkin, you'll be so happy and want to celebrate that. But yeah, that's just kind of a high level overview of me and what I'm doing and what I hope to do. I just want to open it up to Q&A if there's any questions. I know that some of you will be joining for lunch too. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions that you have. Yeah.
Right, I know in entrepreneurship and kind of like life in general,
Yeah.
there's a lot of hard times. So like you can all tell you're a very optimistic person. What do you do to keep that optimistic?
Yeah, I feel like in this scenario, I sometimes do get a little bit down on myself, where it's like, okay, I haven't built this like huge business within this amount of time. And I think something that helps me to, be optimistic is that I'd much rather build something slowly than not at all. And even though, that has its own challenges, I think just the idea of the reward of getting there and building something rather than nothing at all kind of keeps me going and keeps me happy about that. But I also think another thing in terms of if you're building something and, there might be external or internal things that make it challenging, is remembering why you're doing it. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it flips a switch that everything's happy and optimistic, but at least give some grounding in terms of why you're doing it and how you want to move forward. And I think that can provide some purpose. I hope that helps, but thanks for the question. Any others? Yeah.
What's your definition of success?
For me personally, I was going to bring it, but I forgot. I have, it's on my phone, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it really well. With the help of AI, I described what this scene that I wanted generated in like this impressionistic style. And it's my screensaver now, but it's a picture, and I can show anyone after who wants to see it. But it's a picture outside. There's a barn, there's a house with warm lights in it. There's a gal, it's me, sitting on a chair, wearing a t-shirt, reading. And for me, success is what this picture represents, which is, I get to spend time outside. I have my alpacas. The book is representing continual learning. The t-shirt is building my business. The warmth of the light inside the house is being around those that I love. So for me, success is those things. I know that's probably kind of an abstract thing, but seeing that reminds me like what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, if I need to pivot. And I think having a visual is really helpful. So that could be a fun exercise for anyone who wants to create their own image. You can create it on your own, or if you want an LLM to help you with it. I think I liked that your question was what's success for me, because I do think it's something that's individualized, and taking the time over time and recognizing that it can change, but just to realize, what are the things that fill you up? What are the things that make you happy? What are the things that when you've done them, you just feel like this gives me a sense of purpose. This lights me up. I think that can be a guiding factor in how you determine what success is for you. Thanks for the question. Any others? Okay. If anyone does have any others, you can chat with me afterwards or at the lunch. This is my email. If you want to stay tuned on just like what I'm building and the progress with that, feel free to email me. If you want to know when the collections are live, feel free to email me. I have limited resources, but if there's an area that you'd be interested in, if you have a talent that you think could be beneficial, and if it's something that aligns with where I'm going with my company and the resources that I have, feel free to send me an email, or of course talk to me too. And Russ, my call to action for you is if you need someone next year, I volunteer, and it can be my yearly progress report. And so then over time, we'll see how Marz Merch grows. But I just want to say thank you. It's so fun to be back here and reflect on, my beginnings with the Grit Center and Russ. And while it's been a slow progress, I'm super thankful for the resources that I had here that have translated into the resources that I've had at Utah State and the support there to, even though it's slow, building something that I care about and want to build and feel like can provide meaning to those that care about, fun apparel, education, and connecting with others. So thank you guys.